You're at the beginning of two very different roads. Which one do you choose? Is one instrument easier than the other? Is one better? Successfully choosing between trumpet or saxophone requires decisions weighing different factors, including but not limited to difficulty, expense, career viability, and personal sound preference. What does all that mean? Well, if you'll walk with me a bit, I'll talk about all of these different categories, and hopefully by the end you'll have a better idea of what you want to play. Is trumpet or saxophone easier to play? This is an excellent question. Choosing an instrument is a really big decision. You are going to be playing this instrument for days, months, and potentially years. There are dozens of instruments out there, and so it's worth deciding which one will work for you. If you choose saxophone, does it mean that it's going to be super hard and it will be years before you sound any good? Many people believe that the saxophone is easier for beginner musicians because it's easier to start making sound and play different notes. Some argue that it takes a very long time to sound good, but I feel it depends on your goals. It turns out that the trumpet and saxophone have their own unique difficulties. Let's talk about them. Why is trumpet hard? The trumpet is played by a player buzzing their lips extremely rapidly and applying the trumpet mouthpiece to the lips. The vibration energy is transferred through the horn and produces the sound. Although the trumpet has less keys, it is considered a very difficult instrument by many because instead of relying on the instrument itself, the player has to produce the vibrations themselves with their lips. With a guitar, you pluck a string which produces the vibration, while with the trumpet you make the vibration yourself. High notes. Trumpet players have to practice for hours upon hours to play higher notes. In fact, playing high becomes an obsession for many players. Expert trumpet players occasionally show off their abilities by playing extremely high, which sounds like air being let out of a stretched balloon. It's completely non-musical, but it's definitely a result of a ton of practice and is very impressive nonetheless. I'm not sure if I've really communicated how big a deal it is for trumpet players to be able to play high. Trumpeters practice for hours, buy mouthpieces in hopes to achieve higher notes, and even hire private tutors in hopes they'll extend their range. It's very difficult and takes a lot of practice. Saxophone has an advantage of an octave key that can help beginner players play the next octave without much additional effort. Embouchure. Perhaps core to the difficulty of the trumpet is the embouchure. The embouchure is a fancy term for the player's lips, jaw, face, and all other associated muscles that make the buzz of the trumpet. The embouchure is extremely fine-tuned coordination. This coordination has to constantly be maintained in order to be able to maintain the playing range and endurance. In fact, professional trumpet players notice their skills going away if they stop playing for even a couple days. In fact, I talk more about the difficulty of the embouchure for the trumpet in more detail here. Braces. Another interesting problem that especially young players face is having to deal with braces. Many trumpeters feel like they have to relearn their embouchure after getting braces and once again after getting them removed. Furthermore, it's super painful because it's a common bad habit to apply pressure from the mouthpiece to your lips. Some trumpet players use wax on their braces to overcome this. That's what I did at least. Braces have come a long way, though. There are more comfortable non-metal braces that would be much easier to play with. But if your teeth are very crooked, there's not much you can do. If you are planning on getting braces soon, seriously get them sooner than later so that you don't have to unlearn and relearn as much. Why is saxophone hard? Saxophone is somewhat more approachable for new players. It's not as difficult to make the first notes for a beginner as other instruments. However, creating good tone and being able to transition between the low and high range smoothly, as well as making smooth note transitions, takes a long time to master. Good tone. You can learn to make a sound on the saxophone relatively quickly, and in fact, because there are many different keys on the saxophone that have rubber grommets, it's actually easy to learn to play several notes because the keys do some of the work. However, if you ask a pro saxophonist, they will say that it takes a very long time with a lot of practice to get a great sound. The saxophone has its own embouchure requirements, and it takes a long time to coordinate those embouchure muscles to create that smooth buttery sound of the saxophone. Saxophone shares that same difficulty with the trumpet. In short, it may not take very long to make some of the first few notes. It takes a long time to make them sound good. High musical aptitude. One thing that's particularly difficult for intermediate and expert players is that saxophonists are often required to dull, which means that they play multiple instruments, including clarinet or flute, not to mention moving between soprano sax, alto sax, tenor sax, and baritone sax. Switch instruments. This is a strange expectation since these instruments, while they have similarities, have a lot of differences. One key thing is that many of these instruments are in different keys. This requires being able to jump between keys and fingerings and embouchure, sometimes within the same set of music. Now it's your turn. Which one impresses you the most? Let us know in the comments section below. Also, do share and subscribe to our channel for further video notifications.